Hello, it's Helen from Journal with Purpose and welcome to my latest video. I really hope that you're all doing well. I thought I'd do something a bit different today, as I know some people might be struggling to get new craft supplies because of postal issues. So I thought I'd do something with recycled materials and hopefully just give you some ideas for things you might be able to use from around your home. I've gathered some bits here together. I'm not quite sure yet what I'm going to use or how I'm going to use them, but I'll share those quickly with you before I get onto the journaling part of the video. So I've got some bubble wrap here from some packaging, a toilet roll, I've got some doilies here, some really pretty napkins, a little catalogue from one of our local garden centres, some wrapping paper, an envelope, an old newspaper. I've also found some cotton buds, which I thought might be interesting for mark making, the inside roll of some wrapping paper, and also some greaseproof paper. So as I mentioned, I'm not quite sure how I'm going to use all of these yet, but I think it'll be fun to have a bit of a play and experiment and see what I can create in my journal. The first thing I'm doing is laying out all of the bits and bobs around me so that I can remember the different things that I have to use. I'm going to be using a plain standard size traveller's notebook insert, which I keep inside this vintage-like cover. And they're both from Start Bay notebooks. I find it helpful to clip my pages open to make sure that they're nice and flat when I'm working on them. The first thing I'm doing is using some coffee to stain the newspaper pieces, and for this I dissolved 2 teaspoons of instant coffee in some hot water. You could also use tea bags or some brown watercolour paint if you've got it. Whilst those pieces of paper dry, I'm dipping the end of the cardboard toilet roll straight into that coffee and using it to create kind of coffee cup rings on my page. And I'm also then going to splatter some of that coffee straight over the top. I was really pleased with how that looked on my page, and I then used a heat tool to quickly dry it off. And you can now see that the pieces of newspaper are dry too, and I'll use those to create a collage on my page. The next thing I'm doing is looking through the catalogue for an image that I can use, and I really liked this butterfly sat on top of the flower. I thought it had a really lovely spring kind of feeling to it. So I'm just going to rip that really loosely out of the catalogue. I find that all sorts of catalogues, magazines and leaflets have some really great images in them that you can use for your journal. Now that I've torn that out, I'm just going to work out how I want to use it on my page. And I thought it would look nice with a paper doily underneath. So I'm going to cut that doily right along the middle. Once I've got the pieces that I know I want to use, I take a little time just arranging them to check that I'm going to be happy with how they're placed. And I decided to place some of the brown newspaper under the top of the doily so that it stood out a little more. I'm then using a pencil to lightly mark where I want to stick those pieces of paper down. And for glue, I'm using some Pritt stick. I did find that a little of the glue came through the doily, but I just wiped that off using a paper towel. And I thought this gave a really nice main focal point for my journal pages. The next thing I decided to do was have a look at my napkins, and I really liked these butterflies and I thought they would tie in nicely with that image. And I peeled the back layer off so that I just have a nice thin layer to glue onto my page. And I've cut the 3 butterflies out, and for the really light butterfly I decided that it didn't really stand out that well on my page. So to help with that, I got out the greaseproof paper and I tore a little out so that I could stick it behind the butterfly. Once all of the butterflies were stuck down, I decided to use the bubble wrap, and I'm using a purple Tombow ABT brush pen to make some marks on top of that bubble wrap and then pressing it onto my page. And any kind of felt tip pen should work really well for this. And I went for the purple to tie in with the colour of the flower. For some extra decoration, I decided to have a look at the piece of wrapping paper, and I'm going to cut out some of the images that I want to use. I love keeping old pieces of wrapping paper that weren't quite big enough for wrapping some presents, because you often get some lovely images on there which are perfect for sticking into your journal. So again, I quickly play around with them and just decide whereabouts I want them. Next, I decided to add some brush lettering for the date, and because I seem to have lost track of what day, month, even year it is at the moment, I very carefully lettered in the word March, and obviously we're in April now. And as soon as I'd finished, I realised my mistake, so I decided to add some of that greaseproof paper over the top. And what I really should have done was use some Tipp-Ex or white gel pen to soften down that 8th of March, because you can still see it, but I didn't think it was too obvious once I'd added the 8th of April over the top. So don't panic if you do make a mistake on your journal pages. I find there's nearly always a way to kind of correct and hide what you've done. For my lettering, I had used a Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen with a firm nib, and for my journal writing itself, I'm using a black Muji gel pen. And I'm writing about what a strange kind of time it is at the moment and how everything feels unsettled, but also there's kind of a sense of peace and quietness outside, and I'm really enjoying being able to hear all of those birds singing outside in the garden. I really enjoyed playing around with these different kind of supplies, and overall I'm really happy with how my journal pages turned out. For any of the other actual products that I used, as always, I will leave them linked in the description box down below. I really hope that you enjoyed watching this video and that perhaps it inspires you to have a look through your recycling and any other bits of packaging that come through your door, or even food packaging. There's so many lovely images to be found. Thank you ever so much for watching. As always, if you've got any questions or comments, please do leave them down below. I look forward to speaking to you really soon in the next one.